The Beasley Allen Report with your host, Gibson Vance, and special guest attorneys and legal experts discussing the important legal issues that affect you. Brought to you by the Beasley Allen Law Firm, one of the largest personal injury firms in the nation, and founded by former Lieutenant Governor Jere Beasley. This is the Beasley Allen Report. Now, here's your host, Gibson Vance.
Welcome to the Beasley Allen Report. Tonight I welcome my law partner, former Lieutenant Governor and Beasley Allen founder, Jere Beasley. Jere Beasley is one of the best known attorneys in America and perhaps the most successful trial lawyer in the history of our country. Additionally, Jere served 2 terms as Lieutenant Governor back in the 70s and also served as acting governor during his 2nd term. Tonight, Jere Beasley joins us to discuss his long legal career and his career in politics and give us thoughts on the future of our great state. Mr. Beasley, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Gibson. It's good to be on the show, and I've had a lot of folks ask me why you hadn't had me on sooner. But I told them that you had smarter lawyers and people that were more up to date, and I just appreciated the opportunity to come today.
Well, quite frankly, we needed a ratings boost, so we waited to get you in on prime time. Well, we're going to talk, as we said in the opening, about your legal career and about your political career, but a lot of people may not know your background. You are one of the most well-known and successful trial lawyers in the country, but you weren't born that way.
No, in fact, I was born in Texas. A lot of people don't realize that. My family was from Barber County, farmed for a living, going back probably to, I'd say, early 1800s. When they came to Barber County, there were 4 brothers that came to Alabama, split right here in Montgomery. 2 went to Crenshaw County, 2 went to Barber. I came from the Barber County group and tried farming for a couple of years and decided I'd find a little bit easier way to make a living.
Boy, on a hot day like today, that was probably a pretty good decision. Now, you did try your hand at politics, and you're extremely successful. At the time, you were the youngest lieutenant governor elected in the country. You did that when you were in your 30s. Early
30s. In fact, I'd be honest with you, I was better at farming than I was politics. And that's one reason I'm practicing law right now.
Well, what do you take away? What did you learn as lieutenant governor that helped you as you became a successful trial lawyer?
I learned a lot about people during that time. I probably learned more about people working in my mother's little grocery store down in Barber County, which was not as big as the room we're in right now. And I dealt with people on a daily basis and dealt with folks that really were just average, ordinary people. Learned a lot about human nature, and it carried over into politics. And I really never was cut out for politics, just to be quite honest. I have a brother who is much better at it than I ever was, and had he had the opportunity I had, he probably would have gone further.
Well, my first entry into politics is I was a teenager, and my granddad was a chiropractor in Troy, and he said, we're going to help Jere Beasley, and he gave me a phone book, sat me down on the stool in front of the rotary phone, and he said, you start dialing with the A's and let me know when you get to the Z's. And that was a great time, and being lieutenant governor for 2 terms, and then you were called upon to be acting governor when Governor Wallace was shot.
That probably was the toughest time, I suspect, of all. First of all, the lieutenant governor has no real power as far as the executive branch is concerned, and a lot of people had the feeling that you really were just sort of like the vice president to the president, an assistant governor in effect, which was anything but not even close to true. And I found that people were having demands on the office that we frankly could not keep, could not meet. For example, back then, I think I had 3 employees with no budget for the lieutenant governor's office. Now they have a separate budget, have probably 20 to 30 employees, I suspect.
We're showing our viewers as we talk about those days, pictures of you when you were lieutenant governor and a picture of you when you were acting governor. And you left politics, you ran for governor, you were unsuccessful, and you decided to resume your law practice and work as a plaintiff's lawyer. Tell our viewers how that came to be and kind of the struggles you had after leaving a campaign, having a campaign debt, and trying to find a job as a lawyer.
Well, having been lieutenant governor, I had the idea that I'd be in demand as a lawyer. Found out that was, again, far from true. I really made several job applications, a lot of good law firms, got no responses, which really probably was good in the long run, but I really opened a one-person office over on Hull Street and just started practicing law. I'd practiced in Clayton before becoming lieutenant governor, and really wanted to do what I'm doing now. And that really, I think the combination of things, having served as lieutenant governor, a lot of people had no clue. They thought I was going to be a corporate type lawyer, which I was not. And so it worked out for the best. Sarah, my wife, and I made one commitment. We were going to pay all the campaign debts back, which we did. Took a while, but we got them paid, and opened the office, and here we are today.
Well, we're going to talk about the move from 1979 with a one-man law practice to where our firm is today, thanks to your leadership, and we'll do that right after this very short commercial.
The Beasley Allen Law Firm, helping those who need it most since 1979.
Everybody that comes to us, they have a problem of some sort. Oftentimes it's a death, oftentimes a very serious injury, terrific economic losses, disability. And you got to get to know the clients, and you really got to know who they are, know their families, know where they came from, their lifestyles, and you really just want to put yourself in a position to, when they leave this office, they'll be in much better shape than when they got here. And we just want to put them back as close to where they were before the event happened that brought them to us. And we have worked hard to make sure that we really help folks. And we don't represent any of the big corporations. We don't try to represent them. We want to help folks who need help.
Helping those who need it most since 1979. At Beasley Allen, our motto says it all. We not only serve others in the courtroom, but through our cases, we make a difference for people throughout the country. Our victories often result in corporations creating safer workplaces and manufacturers making safety changes in their products. The Beasley Allen attorneys, investigators, and support staff work together to find the hidden cause behind an accident or injury. See how Beasley Allen has been helping others at BeasleyAllen.com.
The Beasley Allen Report with your host, Gibson Vance, and special guest attorneys and legal experts discussing the important legal issues that affect you. This is the Beasley Allen Report. Now, here's your host, Gibson Vance.
Welcome back to the Beasley Allen Report. My guest is my law partner and former Lieutenant Governor, Jere Beasley. Now, Jere, during the first segment, we told the viewers about your political career and how you started a one-man law practice where you rented a building on Hull Street, and now our firm has been so fortunate to grow to a national firm with 80 lawyers, a couple hundred support staff, handling some of the biggest cases in the country. And you know, sometimes as a society we look at somebody like yourself and say, well gosh, you know, they've been successful all their lives, but that was quite a struggle.
It was a struggle, but you know, we came through it, and we've tried to do it the right way, and treat people like they should be treated, and also respect the court system, which is so extremely important to the American people, and it's been under attack. But I think that the fact that we were able to take on folks that the corporate people who were committing fraud, who were putting products on the market that were unsafe, causing difficulty for families, it just gave us an opportunity to help people, and really that's what it's all about.
Well, you have a lot of positive abilities and traits, but you're at your best when you're in the courtroom, and you've been doing that for a good while, and you're still probably, well, you are the most active trial lawyer in our firm. You try more cases than anybody else, and in fact, you're getting ready for a trial right now. You're going to leave here, go home, and keep working and getting ready for trial.
Well, we have a case coming up. Actually, it'll be against Toyota, and it'll be the first, what's called the sudden unexpected accelerations, where the car takes off, you have no control over it, but you can't brake it, you can't slow it down. And there have been cases happening all over the country where people, the first one involved a state trooper, where the trooper was off duty, had his family in his Toyota. The car takes off and he tries to brake it, tries to stop it, gets up over 100 miles an hour before it finally crashes on an interstate. And that was really the first one that got attention. And we have learned since then that they've had some real serious problems with their computer. And automobiles now are so sophisticated and complex, everything is actually operated off a main computer. And in this case, our clients were two women just riding along the road. All of a sudden, the car takes off on them. They have no ability to stop it. The service brakes don't work. The emergency brake is pulled up, and still that does not slow the vehicle, and finally slams into an embankment. And we'll be trying that case. And of course, Toyota has 8 separate lawyers from 8 separate law firms to fit in the case. They're tough. They don't mind spending the money. They'll have experts that they've paid billions of dollars to testify in the case, and it'll be a challenge.
Well, whenever you go after a multinational corporation that makes billions of dollars a quarter, and you're attacking the very brake system that they say works, but yet we've seen all these people that have died because they quite frankly did not work, you better bring a gun to a gunfight. And I know that we have several of our lawyers that are working full-time on that case, devoted several staff members. And these cases, as you said, are very complicated, and you better have the resources to be able to stand toe-to-toe.
Well, we learned a long time ago that if you're going to go after the big boys, you're going to have to be willing to run the risk. You have to pay the expenses as you go. And it's extremely difficult to get experts because the defense will try to hire up as many of the experts as they can and conflict them out. So we've been fortunate to get extremely good, qualified people, a lot of folks in the various disciplines that testify as experts. So we've been successful and we've been fortunate. But our goal, I think I saw this a few minutes ago, is to make sure that when people leave our office, they're in much better shape than they were when they came in. I think that has to be our driving motivation.
Well, I can attest to your belief in that statement. This is a big worldwide case. Will be tried out in Oklahoma. The media from all over the world literally will be watching, and it will have long-ranging effects when the jury reaches a verdict. But whenever I'm trying a case, or any of our lawyers, whether it be helping someone here locally on a case that doesn't appear to be that big from a legal perspective, the one thing you tell us is you take care of that client. And at the end of the day, you want that client to feel comfortable, win, lose, or draw, about how they were represented by our firm.
I think that has to be the motivation behind your efforts. And when you lose sight of the client's best interest, then you've not done your job. And of course, the thing that we have to overcome right at the outset of any trial, all the attacks on the court system over the years have been orchestrated, and their design and their goal was to make people not trust the courts and not trust the system. And so you have to overcome that in every case that we have, regardless of the facts. And you'll have somebody on that jury panel, as you select a jury, who will come in with a preconceived notion that every lawsuit is frivolous, which is absolutely, totally not true, because frivolous lawsuits get thrown out of court, and any lawyer who files one ought to be certified.
Well, you're absolutely right about that. We've seen an unprecedented attack on the court system, and we just, jury by jury, have to explain that the right to a trial by jury is in the Constitution, is important to everyone. When I was in law school, I was studying for the bar exam, and instead of studying, I almost skipped studying for a week to go to Barber County, I believe it was, and watch you try a case. And to me, this case epitomizes what our law firm is trying to do, and really your career, Jerry. It was the case where the tractor, Kubota tractor, rolled over and a poor gentleman was killed.
That case probably did get worldwide attention. In fact, if you go to Kubota's website today, they'll make this statement. they'll say that we led the entire industry in putting what they call ROPS protection, which would be seat belts and roll bars on our tractors. And the only reason that they did become the leader, if they are in fact the leader, is because of the courage of a lady named Dixie Merle Spivey, who was willing to stand up to them. They came in and made her an offer, a substantial offer, but it had confidentiality attached to it. They wanted all the documents back because that company, Kubota, had actually calculated out how much it would cost them to try lawsuits, and they figured it was cheaper to go through the court system, try cases, settle them, or pay jury verdicts than to go back and correct the problems and put the protection on the tractors, because they were having rollover after rollover, and people were being killed and actually some paralyzed, but mostly killed. And when she told them no to that settlement because she did not want to agree to confidentiality, that shocked the lawyers, it shocked the corporate representatives, and finally they settled it with no confidentiality. And we were able to, in front of the courthouse in Montgomery County, show the news media, all the people who came, all of the bad documents, all of the very things that I've just said, the calculations and how they had put their own profits over safety. That information went all over the country, and it had a positive effect, because now Kubota can brag about their being a leader.
Well, but at the end of the day, it took a very strong lady who had just lost her husband, a lady, you know, from the country, not of great wealth, or probably even by some standards sophistication, to say, I'm not going to take these millions of dollars if I have to stay quiet, if other people are going to be injured down the road because of that. That's quite extraordinary.
True, and there was a reason. She had a large family. She had one son who was actually working for the Department of Agriculture, and he had approached Kubota, and he simply wanted Kubota to tell him why they were not doing what they should have been doing from a safety standpoint, and they ignored him, and that's how they came to us. And so she had the backing of all of her children, including this gentleman who worked for the government, and so she did something that most people can't afford to do. A lot of our clients simply can't afford to say no to confidentiality. And that's why I would like to see the legislature and the courts do away with confidentiality if the welfare of the public is at stake on a safety issue.
Well, we see, and we talk about on this show all the time, product recalls, safety defects where they're recalling products, but a lot of people don't find out about those until it's too late. So basically, if you get rid of confidentiality, if it helps the public good, you can avoid other people getting hurt in the future.
That's true. In fact, the report that we put out every month, the written report, we put in there, as you know, a section on recalls, and probably a week, I guess every week, we get responses from people who tell us that they saw the recall information in that report. Some of them had the actual product in their home or maybe a vehicle, and it alerted them to a safety problem. And we really ought to have a better system of putting that information out to the public. A lot of, for example, what they call silent recalls, where the company will send a silent recall out to the dealer and not notify the consumer, the owner of the product.
Well, we've had cases where that's occurred, and I know during your legal career you've seen situations where litigation, whether it be our firm involved or another plaintiff's firm, have brought these problems to the eye of the community, and we have safer products because of it.
It's actually, no doubt in my mind, the court system and the litigation process has probably done more to make products safer than the government has ever done. In fact, when I tell people, for example, that the FDA, which has the responsibility to monitor, control, and actually regulate the drug industry, when people find out that the FDA does not have the authority under the law to actually test drugs, it shocks most folks. The FDA has to depend on the drug manufacturers to supply them test results. And if I don't do anything today that helps folks, I'm going to do one thing for sure. There's a publication put out by Public Citizen called Worst Pills, Best Pills. It has done more, that and Dr. Sidney Wolf of Public Citizen has done more to keep unsafe products in the drug manufacturing industry off the market than the FDA has ever done. In fact, I can point to over 25 drugs where a public citizen said, do not put this on the market. They did anyway, they being FDA, and then ultimately they had to pull that drug because it was killing folks, because it was unsafe, and should have never been on the market. And this is an example.
Well, we've talked about automobile products, we've talked about pharmaceutical. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I want to talk about fraud on the state of Alabama and other states that our firm has been involved with. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this very short break.
The Beasley Allen Law Firm, helping those who need it most since 1979.
I've had many cases where I can look back and recognize some things that we did that really made a difference for the individual. But there are some cases that actually made a difference for the public at large. We had a case years ago involving a tractor that rolled over on a farmer down in South Alabama, and it killed him. And at that point in time, the company that we brought the case against had ignored safety. And they did not put roll bars on their tractors like they should have. And as a result of that case, they equipped all of their tractors with rollover protection. And we've saved no telling how many people. That same company now advertises as being a leader in the safety area for tractors. And so we made a difference in that.
Helping those who need it most since 1979. The Beasley Allen motto not only applies to the clients we serve, but also to our community. With an award-winning website at BeasleyAllen.com, the firm provides up-to-the-minute information about consumer issues, including recalls, alerts, and other public safety updates. Potential clients learn more about issues related to their case and gain direct access to our attorneys. See how Beasley Allen has been helping others at BeasleyAllen.com.
Welcome back to the Beasley Allen Report. My guest tonight is my law partner and former Lieutenant Governor Jere Beasley. Now, Jere, one of the great things about being a trial lawyer is you get the opportunity to become an expert in a lot of different areas that you never thought you would. We've talked about product liability cases, we've touched on pharmaceutical cases, but over the last 5 or 6 years, you had the opportunity to represent the state of Alabama, the Medicaid department, and become an expert on how Medicaid can be mistreated by pharmaceutical companies.
Well, actually, we started in Alabama. We now represent eight states, 8 separate states, and have been successful in every state. We had limited success here in Alabama, and I might just throw out this side note on that. The drug companies cheated Alabama in the Medicaid program out of over $1 billion. That's one with a B, $1 billion. Several years ago, we were getting verdicts in Alabama. The Alabama Supreme Court decided that it was not fraud in Alabama for a drug company to cheat the Medicaid program. That's not been the case in any other state. In fact, every state that we represent, including the state of Utah, their Supreme Court found fraud on the very same facts. I don't think the current Alabama Supreme Court would make the same decision, but we've recovered in Alabama several hundred, I guess, million. In other states, many millions of dollars. The last case was tried by D. Miles and his lawyers in Mississippi. They got over a $12 million compensatory award, and then there'll be a punitive phase where the court will hear the punitive part of the case. But this is just an example of how we have some crazy laws on the federal level. There's a federal law that says that the federal government can know that a Medicaid provider, not a provider, but a manufacturer, a drug manufacturer, can cheat a state, and that federal government agency cannot give that information to, say, the state Medicaid agency. So we learned a lot during the process, and fortunately, we've been able to recover for the taxpayers of these 7 other states a great deal of money that they were cheated out of by drug companies that knew better.
And it was very complex in one sense, but it was very simple in another, by the fact that they were just overcharging the state Medicaid for common drugs that everybody in the state was using.
In fact, we had an internal memo from one of the companies. One officer talking to another, he said, and I'm going to paraphrase it, he said, let's make hay while the sun shines, because eventually they're going to wise up and catch us.
Well, Jerry, this 30 minutes has gone by remarkably quick. We've just touched on your career. We could talk for days, and we're certainly going to have you back whenever you want to come back. But what impresses me the most about you is your enthusiasm and the passion that you still have for each and every client and for the practice of law and running our law firm. And so on behalf of all your law partners, we appreciate that. But let me ask you this. What drives you to keep going?
Well, first of all, I enjoy it. I really enjoy what I'm doing, but I know also that we're helping people. But I also can remember back there when I was getting up at 4 o'clock, going out there helping my daddy farm. What I'm doing now, I think I have a little more control over it, and that kind of motivates me too. But in all sincerity, I just enjoy practicing law. I enjoy helping people. I enjoy taking a person's case that maybe wouldn't have an opportunity to receive compensation for an injury, the loss of a loved one. And when it gets to the point that I don't put that client's interest first, that's when I need to pack it up and go home.
Well, you've been doing it for a good while, and you've been as successful or more successful than anybody in the country. Good luck on this Toyota case. I know that the Toyota is going to throw everything in the world they have at us, and I know we can't promise a victory, but we can always promise our clients we're going to give it the best shot.
Well, I think they'll find out that we're not afraid to go to court, number one, and I think that's extremely important, and we're going to give them our best.
Well, Jerry, thank you for being our guest tonight. That's all the time we have. You can catch the Beasley Allen Report on Sunday nights after the 10 o'clock news, and on Monday nights after the news at 9 on WSFA 12.2 channel, Bounce TV. Thank you for joining us. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me directly at gibson@beasleyallen.com. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you back again next week.